Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on this video. I really appreciate you. Welcome to the first episode of my OpinMIN Podcast, a new Pikmin that I'm doing, a new podcast that I'm doing, where I talk about Pikmin and my opinions around the series. Get that? It's a joke. It takes a really high IQ to get that joke. Anyway, to make this episode special, I'd like to give away this copy of Topical Wilds. It's sold out, so you can't get these anymore. But this one had like a nice little scratch on the back of it, and so I couldn't sell it. So I'm giving it away. Comment below, like the video. I'm not going to check to see if you liked it, so you don't have to, but I'd appreciate it if you did. And I'll give it to a random viewer, if this is something you care about. Thanks. Hey! All of you creatures on the internet, Pikmin fans, this is Creative Sushi and my good pal VantageEmblem. Say hello, my captive. There you go.
Hello!
Very good.
I'll say it again. Hello!
Don't. Today, we're here to talk about something near and dear to all of our hearts. Which is YouTube videos and discussion. No, we're here to talk about Pikmin and Fortnite and Pikmin Fortnite and Pikmin Temptation and Pikmin Sin. No, actually, today we are here to talk about multiplayer Pikmin, the history of it, some of our qualms, some of the things we like, which game does it best, which game does it worst, and we're just going to have a fun little podcast-style kind of discussion about it, back and forth. So comment below on how wrong you think both of us are. And without further ado, let's start with the first game. The first game that had multiplayer, that is, Pikmin 2. Pikmin 2 Versus. Did you play a lot of that as like a kid?
I played so much Pikmin 2-player battle with random friends that I had over. I was like, hey, you gotta try this game. And they were terrible at it. And I thought I was just really good at the game, right? But I was not. Ultimately, they just hadn't played Pikmin before. And I have opinions that 2-player battle is a really bad introduction to Pikmin 2. Whereas, and we'll get to this, I think later versus mode, specifically Bingo Battle, is a really good introduction to Pikmin 3. 2-player battle is very streamlined because there's only the one type. So yeah, but the long answer to your question, the short answer to the long answer to the question is, yeah, I played a lot of 2-player battle, and I love the setup. I forget which map it was specifically, but the setup where the onions are just right next to each other. It's so unbelievably stupid.
Yeah, absolutely. And those games are so chaotic when they're right next to each other. And then you have levels in that game that you're so far away and there's so many hazards that half the time, if you're playing with someone who isn't necessarily as competent as you, they can just end up killing themselves before you even see each other. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of weird. The game is balanced in a very strange way.
That's what Hostile Territory will do.
But it is balanced. In fact, I would argue that Pikmin 2 Versus might be one of the most balanced multiplayer competitive modes in the entire series.
Do you mind if I give an insight real quick?
No, go for it.
It's interesting because I don't disagree with you, because it's something they've been talking about since Pikmin 1. In the developer interviews in the, I think it's Nintendo Power magazine, I'll send an image to you that you can put on screen. In the Nintendo Power magazine, Miyamoto talks to the interviewer about a versus mode with red Pikmin versus blue Pikmin as a bit of a joke. And then it ended up in Pikmin 2.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it's one of those things. It's an interesting quote, an interesting read.
But yeah, the maps in Pikmin 2, you know, they're completely symmetrical. The cherry items in Pikmin 2, they're not incredibly overpowered in either way. And everybody has access pretty much to the same spots, the same cherry spawn locations, and it's pretty much completely symmetrical and even. Whereas later games, they kind of have some asymmetry to the maps, and some of the cherry items are a little overpowered, and they can kind of destroy, and that's a little RNG kind of. So as far as most balanced, it might just go with Pikmin 2, but I also think that in some ways that makes it the most boring.
Agreed. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes you need to toss things up. Now that might be true.
Really, it's a race. It's just a race for yellow marbles.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
It's a race, and I mean, let's be real. Pikmin races aren't necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. I mean, like those lockout challenges that we played on my channel. Those are essentially just races, but
there's more to it because there's strategy to what your pick, and that's ultimately what we're doing is creating bingo battle out of Pikmin 2 two-player battle. That's ultimately in some ways what it is.
Yeah, that's why Pikmin 1 is actually the best competitive multiplayer game on this list. No, I'm just kidding.
I
mean, it might be the case.
It was a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
It is, yeah.
And I guess we can go ahead and say it. We're going to do that again. Maybe with Pikmin 4 soon. So, yeah, we'll have to schedule that. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll have a date, or right now on the screen, I'll have a date for when we're going to do that again.
Yeah. And maybe at the end of the video, we'll also talk about how you can potentially help us decide what we're going to be doing in that lockout and help us come up with bingo challenges, because Pikmin 4 is still new. We don't have as intricate of a knowledge of what we're going to be doing as we do with Pikmin 1.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, Pikmin 2, I played it a lot as a kid. You won't see me playing it much these days, at least the versus mode, that is. But I mainly only just played it with my dad back in those days. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I think occasionally I tried to get my friends to play it, and, it was just a slaughter fest. I would just win and win and win, and they'd have to have a handicap, and then nobody, wants to continue doing that. Because, very few individuals.
I played it with my sibling, who was a good sport about it, but ultimately they didn't get into the series until Pikmin 4. So there's something to be said about it not being a good introduction to
Yeah.
Although I do want to ask you your opinions on the Switch port version, especially with its very random.
Did they ever fix that, or is that still?
I don't think they did. I think it's still
Well, that's hilarious. I don't know if you know, but if you hold a direction, you can actually get it to spawn the original maps. So it's only broken in the sense of lack of knowledge, but who's going to know to do that if they're just getting the game for the first time, which a lot of people did for the Switch port. So it's kind of strange that they haven't fixed that, especially since we've gotten patches for those games since they've come out.
And maybe they have fixed it, but regardless, I find it to be a lot of fun because it's an absolute mess. I'm not saying it's a good multiplayer experience, but for someone who's played as much two-player battle as I think both of us have, it's funny.
It freshens up the game a little bit, makes it a little bit more interesting for us veterans for sure. And in some levels, like the bread bug level where it's all dark, it can become really chaotic in trying to find where the other person is and all of this stuff. But yeah, no, that was hilarious. If you guys haven't seen that yet, definitely, even if you don't have someone to play it with, just boot up one of those maps, because the spawning algorithm looks like it's straight out of a Colossal Caverns mod.
When I played with you, remember the Raging Longlegs, like that whole disaster with the, oh man,
that was wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I honestly don't think there's a whole lot of talk about the Pikmin 2 versus mode other than just comparing it to the other modes. It's a pretty simple game mode. There's definitely some fans of it. We have that Twitter page, Pikmin 2 Player Battle Memes, that are always posting memes about it and stuff and making shirts. I actually have one of their shirts.
It's something interesting, like, just to get the basics out. I mean, there's only one Pikmin type, right? There's the red and blue marbles, which you can collect, which are just the victory macaroons. You immediately win. You have 4 yellow marbles, so it's not like there's varied objectives. There's multiple ways to score if you grab different marbles, but ultimately they're pretty symmetrically placed. It's not like they're strategically put in center points where you're typically fighting over them. Something to note, your Pikmin can directly engage with each other, and you can use Ultra Bitter Spray to plant Pikmin temporarily.
Oh,
but
yeah, that never made it. Never made a return.
Nope. But like that's pretty much the unique stuff it has. Other than that, there's the roulette has the volatile Dweevil, I guess, which is the most destructive thing, and also you can spawn some blowhogs at home, be it the withering blowhog or a watery, fiery blowhog. Other than that, there's not really much chaos or randomness in it, other than getting a couple extra Pikmin or the ghost Pikmin. My boy.
Yeah. That was a funny one that never returned either. I feel like that would be harder to program in newer games because you have so many lighting like code and stuff that changes like how things look there. It's probably a lot harder today to make an entire squad of Pikmin suddenly vanish.
And ultimately, it's not really that useful too because it's with all of the modes being locked to split screen, which I find totally excusable on the GameCube Pikmin game, by the way. On Pikmin 2, sure, like 100%. Pikmin 3, though...
For Bingo Battle 2, you don't think it should have split screen?
I mean, it can, but the only way to play it being split screen is my issue. Like, Bingo Battle should have had online, and that's a hill I will die on.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And we'll get there when we transition to Pikmin 3.
So, yeah, I find it funny, actually, that you say online is a hill to die on. Pikmin 2, actually, there are some ways to play that online. I've done it a couple times.
There are.
We have the net play, and the what's the other? Parsec, which is... Parsec works via... it's basically screen share, and one person sends over their controller inputs to the other person so that you're running the game on one computer, whereas Dolphin NetPlay loads up the ROM on both computers that theoretically should be running exactly the same on the same engine and stuff. Both have their flaws. With Parsec, you're always going to have a little bit of a delay, which stinks in a competitive multiplayer game because the person running the game will not have that delay.
Yeah.
So unless you have a third party running the game and
which you can do,
wired in, but even then it's going to factor on both of those people's internet connections. So it's kind of wonky for a very competitive, but it's for casual fun. It's a good streamlined way to play. Whereas net play can be a little tricky because if there's ever any hiccup, to start out, the gameplay is a lot more smooth. There's not that input delay that you see, but there's a chance for desync, and it can happen fairly regularly, especially if somebody doesn't have great internet connection. And if that happens, you have to start over. Like you have to close the game, reopen it, reset up the server, because it basically net play runs with both people running the same game. If one of those games stalls, then they're no longer displaying the same thing, and it will quickly get out of because if someone tries to turn a tight corner, for example, on one game they're going to hit a wall, and on the other game they're going to pass that wall, and then you can imagine the game just completely gets destroyed from that point on. But yeah, that is actually the only Pikmin game that can be played multiplayer in a sense with today's tech and what Nintendo's allowed to a degree. Not that they've allowed that per se. But yeah, so that is an interesting point about two-player battle. And another thing is that Pikmin 2 has great modding capability, so hopefully one day we'll see some more Pikmin 2 mods. Has anybody made any mods of note that you know of for two-player battle?
No. Yeah. I think there might be some stuff in 2.5.1, but I genuinely have no idea.
And even if it's usually just like different enemies and maps, not so much mechanic changes, which is fine. But I'd love to see some mechanic changes someday in that game.
I'd love to see an ultra competitive version of two-player battle, because I think there's something really good that could be there, and something I always wanted as a kid. I always wanted a three-player version of two-player battle with the president and yellows.
Well,
it wouldn't be balanced because yellows are broken, but
and also the screen split would be weird there. Although maybe you could make the fourth screen like a mini map or something. I've seen them do that with some games. But you did actually just remind me. I'm actually pretty sure PickHacker is working on a 1v1v1v1 Pikmin 2 versus mode, or somebody is. I seem to remember seeing a video of that. Quick little post-production correction here. This mod is actually developed by Drought Ender, and it's available online now for download. So check the description to get it for yourself. So
That sounds amazing.
Hopefully I'm not like spoiling a project that I wasn't supposed to know about or something, but I'm pretty sure it was just posted.
It's my project, actually. Sorry. No, I'm kidding.
I'll double check to make sure it's public.
We can cut this
first.
bit out of the video.
Yeah. But yeah, so kind of moving on to another game. You said you would die on the hill of multiplayer, but I honestly feel like with games like Pikmin 3 and 4, Nintendo's servers just couldn't keep up in a way that I would enjoy playing. Maybe
that's true,
but like Smash Bros, especially like at the beginning, it was bad, and it's okay now. But even still playing Smash Bros, you have such an input delay, and I can't imagine what that would be like with like hundreds of Pikmin on the, or at least.
I think that's a valid point, and I'm gonna cut you off just to say you're so right, because look at what they did with Mario Wonder.
Yeah.
They're ghosts. They aren't actually there.
And maybe they could do something similar to the Pikmin franchise. That would be an interesting idea. Maybe they could make it...
like the others show up as glow Pikmin or something?
Yeah, or just a more cooperative game mode that's online. Something like that, where it's puzzle solving or something. You know, those games where you like Portal, for example, Portal 2, that is, where you have people locked in different walls and you have to solve puzzles for the other person. I could definitely see Pikmin work in a setting like that.
It's ultimately Nintendo doesn't like running servers for games.
Yeah, they don't.
Like Splatoon, though. Splatoon
is a good example.
That's their shining, and there's a lot that goes on there with the goop mechanic, right? Getting the ink to actually match up.
But even Splatoon is only 4v4. You know, you don't have all of these entities. Granted, I think the new Splatoon 3 has like a 4... Oh, it's still 4v4, isn't it? Yeah, because it's one team of 4 and then 2 teams of 2. So yeah, it's still 4v4. And Splatoon servers can sometimes have some issues as well, which it doesn't ruin the game, you know, but every once in a while you have a frustrated player because the internet cuts out and says communication error or something like that.
Yeah. And like, I know this kind of game works online, obviously. StarCraft, Age of Empires,
that's true.
Warcraft all have run with online for a long time.
But not on Nintendo servers.
I'm not going to argue. I'm going to assume that the Nintendo 64 port of StarCraft 1 didn't have...
I didn't even know that existed. That's hilarious.
It does. It does.
Wow, that sounds awful to play, honestly.
Yep. And that's where I'm going to end that
topic.
topic.
Super Nintendo. Did you ever play that one?
No.
Yeah, it's not great.
Sounds like playing Pac-Man on the Atari.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Atari Pac-Man? Oh boy.
Yeah, I have ColecoVision Pac-Man. It's pretty rough. Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of things that aren't pretty rough, I want to segue to the best, and I'm going to say it now, what I think is the best multiplayer mode in the game, which is, in terms of versus multiplayer, which is Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle in all of the games.
I wouldn't even stop it at versus or competitive.
I think it is the best multiplayer.
In fact, honestly, actually, may I take it a step further?
We skipped a big thing in Pikmin 2.
Oh, did we?
The co-op in challenge mode.
Oh yeah, there is co-op in challenge mode. There's not much to say about co-op in challenge mode.
But it exists.
It exists. You can split up your
And that's more
Pikmin.
than base game Pikmin 3 had. It's more than base game Pikmin 3 had.
Yeah, that's true.
It was the cooperative mode for years.
It's sad that it didn't make it into the story for Pikmin 2.
No.
Because it looked like it was ready to.
It feels like they wanted to.
Yeah.
But there's some weird things like, how do you do the ranging Bloister, right? Or the Water Wraith? Do they just follow player 1? I guess.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think that's why, certain decisions were made, like the color of the President's Beacon being blue, despite him having a yellow backpack, is for things like the ranging Bloister, or whatever. I think there's a lot of design choices that were made that were almost there for a full story co-op, and obviously it's been modded in. It's been modded into 4-player, which is really cool. But
sure.
It's interesting that Pikmin 3 got that working in 2020, and it is, I think, the best feature for so many new players playing Pikmin 3, because I know a lot of people play through that game together co-op. Personally, I don't like Pikmin 3 co-op, Pikmin 3 Deluxe co-op. It's fine, but
yeah. Well, it's funny to me because you have issues with split screen. But Pikmin 3 co-op is actually the only cooperative game that lets you share a screen.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Do you think
I love sharing the screen? I genuinely find it really fun. And I actually think switching back and forth between the split screen there is a ton of fun. However, the issue I have is that Pikmin 3, despite having multiple leaders, is clearly not designed to be a co-op game. At least the Captain Throw mechanic, like, it all works, but it feels like they had to really mess with the controls to get it where you can switch leaders and, like, you have to agree and flag to join the party.
Not to mention,
it just feels strange.
Not to mention what they had to do with, like, the HUD, you know? It's like, okay, suddenly you're sharing a Pikmin army and you have to join the health together and stuff, and it's honestly impressive that they did that at all. And then there's some other weird things, like when you start the game, there's like a Ghost Charlie second player and a Ghost Alf second player. Funky decisions like that. But it gets really cool when you first get to the, I wanted to say the Distant Tundra. What's the name of the snow area? I'm completely blanking.
The Distant Tundra.
Oh, okay, I was right. Okay.
Yeah, it's the snow distant spring, the distant tundra. Come on, get your act together, sushi.
Hey, at least I said it. It gets really cool to co-op when you get to the distant tundra, and you know Brittany's separated from Alf. But no, actually, now that I think about it, at the beginning of the segment, you have a ghost Brittany, and you don't get to become Alf until you exit the first cave.
Because it's not set up to be a co-op experience.
And I feel like, you know, they should have taken that a step further and fixed that in the very least, because you could have had Alf getting that bridge ready before, you know, letting Brittany out of the cave. I don't know.
Ultimately, that's just how Pikmin 3 is designed, though. Like, it goes into a tutorial segment there for Yellow Pikmin when, really, it's kind of weird that it does. Like, I enjoy
it
that.
Pauses
that
the
little
time. Yeah.
But it pauses the time. And it makes the game feel like, oh, here's another tutorial. I'm still in the beginning of the game when, frankly, you're kind of hitting the halfway mark really soon because Pikmin 3 is short. Like, and I think that's the issue. And I actually have this opinion. A lot of people complain about the linearity of Pikmin 3. I don't think it's the linear level design that's the problem. I think it's how long the game treats itself like a tutorial that makes it a problem. Because ultimately, Pikmin 3, like, yes, it's linear, but you know what's linear and everyone likes in Pikmin 3? The Formidable Oak.
Yeah, very true.
But the Formidable Oak's not treating itself like a big tutorial, so it's, you know, ultimately, I think linearity isn't the actual problem with Pikmin 3, but the linearity definitely shows itself a lot more when you're playing co-op.
Oh, for sure.
Because your multitasking is a lot more efficient when you have two people.
Yeah. There are some... Oh, and there's also mission mode co-op in Pikmin 3, which is great. For some reason, they didn't bring over the features that they added into the story mode, so you can't join up with the second person, and you still can't do go here with mission mode co-op at all.
What's interesting about that is they add in a new leader for at least one of the maps. The Tropical Forest, Collect Treasure. You get Brittany added in for co-op, where it's just Alf in the main. So it's like objectively more efficient to play co-op.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, you can get such a better score in co-op. And that's why they score them separately, which was definitely a good call. Which, let me say, they did not do in Olimar's side adventures. They don't score it separately. And that makes me upset. It's the same score for the Olimar missions in Deluxe, whether or not you play solo or not.
Would it added more content if they scored them separately, frankly?
Yeah, that would have been such an easy thing to do, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm gonna give you my crackpot theory. My tinfoil hat. This is my tinfoil hat Pikmin theory I've been saying for a lot. I was under the impression when Olimar's comeback was announced that it was supposed to be bigger than it was. Olimar's assignment we got exactly what they intended. Just some more mission mode missions that are easier, that lead into mission mode. Great. Mm-hmm. I was convinced when 3 came out, that Olimar's comeback was going to be a remix of Pikmin 3's areas with a 30-day time limit to collect ship parts. And they even started modeling the ship parts, and they started there's a lot of things in there that, like, really make me believe even the story doesn't line up with the gameplay. And for a while, I was like, cool, that's totally what it is. And I think 4 stole its thunder.
Well, I was going to say,
it was, yeah.
4 made
that's my
Pikmin
tinfoil
3 rushed for a second time.
And I think ultimately that's what happened, is Pikmin 3 was pushed out Deluxe was pushed out to satiate setting up 4. And there's some things, like some of the things they announced in social media about the game just ended up not being true. About, specifically with the recall whistle. There were some things they said about it mechanically that, if I remember correctly, weren't fully accurate.
Oh, really?
I think Pikmin that were being whistled back with the recall wouldn't die to sunset, or maybe it was on easy mode, Pikmin wouldn't die to sunset, something like that. And I'm going to try to find the tweet before we post this video, otherwise cut out this section. Okay. But it's just one of those things that there's a lot of things in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, in the new Deluxe content, that feel a lot less polished than the original Pikmin 3. And I think ultimately that's because of it being segued, or, squished between Pikmin 3 and Pikmin 4 right before 4 came out on Switch. But the reason I'm going on this rant in the multiplayer video, right, is there's so much multiplayer stuff they tried in Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Mm. And they also tried control stuff in Pikmin 3 Deluxe that seemed to line up with what we got in 4. But all the multiplayer stuff was dropped. What we got in 4's campaign was the Pebble Pitcher, which is nothing.
Let's go ahead and talk about that, because we've been talking about the co-op
3 for a while. Yeah.
And then we can get back to competitive.
And get back to the cool ones. I mean, Bingo Battle.
So, Pebble Pitcher was a
like
disappointment.
Pikmin 3's co-op better.
You what?
I think I like Pikmin 3's co-op better than I thought, actually, after this rant.
Yeah, no, Pikmin 3's co-op is great. And it was sorely missed in Pikmin 4. Mm-hmm. Different development teams, I guess, because Pikmin 3 Deluxe was sort of a, second team.
Although aiding does get a special thanks in Pikmin 4.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they probably helped in some way or another. In fact, I don't know if you guys recognize this. As a little fun fact. Aiding also co-developed one of the games on the Game Boy Advance that is a treasure in Pikmin 4. So that's a reference to Aiding.
Interesting.
Yeah, is one of the games. I forget which one it is. I have it, actually. It was co-developed by Aiding and Nintendo. So they actually had a collaboration way back then, and this was their second time collaborating on a game, and they're like, we gotta have this as a reference in there, and that's why they chose that game specifically as one of the treasures.
So I haven't cross-referenced the staff of Pikmin 3 and 4. It is something I intend to do at some point. It's a lot of names, and I really don't feel like sifting through that credits right now in my life while I'm in school. Mm-hmm. But I'm very curious to see how much of the dev team is overlapped, how much isn't overlapped, how much is fresh blood. I just don't know the answers to that.
It'd be good to look at for sure. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Pebble Pitcher. So, disappointing.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about it. Honestly, I've seen it played. I haven't even tried it myself.
I have.
It doesn't look very
made the game worse.
In-depth. It what?
I genuinely thought it made the game worse when I played with Pebble Pitcher. Yeah, because I was playing with my sibling, and they were getting into Pikmin 3, or Pikmin 4, excuse me, and they wanted me to play it with them, so I did the Pebble Pitcher, and they got really annoyed about these rocks coming out of nowhere and sniping their Bulborbs. So
yeah,
and spurring things onwards. It felt
seems kind of overpowered.
Weird. It's not even overpowered. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I'm not a fan of Pebble Pitcher.
Although Pikmin Carrot inclusion was appreciated.
Yeah, but to be fair,
do that in single player,
this is
right?
The Pikmin Carrot, and this is something that I've been talking about with some of the Unearthed folks. The Pikmin Carrot is, you know that distraction berry from Pikmin Unearthed? That
Yeah.
unused distraction berry? It's the Pikmin carrot.
Exactly.
That's what they ended up doing. It functions almost identically.
Except, well, I was gonna say the distraction berries were picked up by Pikmin, like Bomb Rocks.
But so are Bomb Rocks.
But
and
now in
they
Pikmin
aren't.
4,
Yeah.
even Bomb Rocks are just
And I
resorted
think
to
that's
items.
part of the reason that change was made was, and this is actually something that ties right into Pikmin 3 and 4 multiplayer, is Bomb Rocks are hard to control. Pikmin 3 has the best Bomb Rock controls in the series, easily, in terms of Pikmin-controlled Bomb Rocks. But there's still a chance that the Pikmin throws it at the wrong target.
Yeah.
And which I think is fun, but also it can be a little miserable when you've done everything right except the Pikmin. Yeah.
Or you just accidentally throw a Bomb Rock instead of a Pikmin, which you can't do in Pikmin 4 unless you forget to press B and you just throw them all over the place. That's happened a couple times. But yeah, not to stray too much further into this concept, but all of the items in Pikmin 4 just kind of felt secondary to me in a way. Like they felt like they were saved for the 2-player. And so when I got these things like the Pick Carrot and the Scrummy Bone, I was like, I'll never really use these. And I don't think I used a Scrummy Bone until that second Empress Bullblax fight in the entire game. But
playing it without upgrades is a lot more impactful.
it was really like kind of jarring to me when I got to my first bomb wall, and I was like, where are the Bomb Rocks? And I didn't even realize that like I had enough in my inventory, and I kind of had to do like this recollection is like, well, I don't remember passing any, and I kind of went around the map and looked for them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have an inventory. And you know, that's probably just because I'm so used to the old way. But it was really
so
jarring.
So excited when the Pikmin would deliver me Bomb Rocks. I'm like, oh, look, it's a rock Pikmin carrying a Bomb Rock. Look, oh, it's like Pikmin 3. Oh, it's in my inventory now. Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why I had that emotional. I think that was just the, oh, familiar thing brain. But, like, it was,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hear you. But yeah, so I guess that's it for co-op. Oh, well, I want to talk about why maybe they chose the Pebble Pitcher route. It's the lock-on mechanic.
And also, Ochi's async.
What?
Ochi is in the second captain. It's asynchronous from the main player, and if you were having it be 2-player, player 1 would have to be Ochi. Player 1 would have to be Ochi because player 2 leaps onto Ochi's back. They could still throw independently, but like, yeah.
Maybe those leaks that we've seen with the 2 captains riding Ochi, maybe that's a new and improved co-op system.
And that's ultimately, if that's really a thing, even if it was an attempt at the co-op system, there's a lot of weird stuff with those, right? Like, Ochi matches the second Castaway's outfit, and that Castaway is not one we've seen in the game. So maybe that's just what they had to do to set up a dev screenshot. But also,
in the versus mode, you can choose like the captain that you've played with in the story mode, and then the other team is like Olimar or Louis. So, yeah, that could be the case that the other player just selected their player from their other file, and they keep the outfit color.
Yeah,
but
although it's not a typical Rescue Corps outfit,
right?
Either. It's like
not.
It's the better. I mean, the more like Hokutation style outfit.
Well, it could be maybe you rescue that Castaway, and that's what unlocks the co-op.
Oh yeah, they could. Oh my gosh, you know that where you start in the rescue command post, how there's really no reason to go back there. You could easily have it like you have to go back there and find a new Castaway, and that's your second player, right? Like, there's so many easy things they could do for that sort of thing. And, DLC's not off the table. After the February Direct, it's probably off the table. But, like, there's a chance.
Bro, we're getting Mario Kart DLC 10 years later. What are you talking about? Yeah, it's never off the table anymore.
It's true. Pikmin 3 basically got 2 waves of DLC.
Yeah.
Right? It got Pikmin, and both were co-op. It got Pikmin 3's original DLC, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe got the deluxe stuff. So, But anyway, long story short, Pebble Pitcher is an L.
It is.
It's an L, and I wish it wasn't. Even my grandfather knows that Pebble Pitcher is bad, and asked me to talk about it on the channel, and I did. So,
Yeah, for shame. But yeah, now I guess we hyped up Bingo Battle earlier. I'd say it's probably about time we get back to that.
Yeah.
You said that Bingo Battle might be the best competitive multiplayer experience in Pikmin. I agree. Not only, I'd be willing to take that a step further. I'm going to tell you right now that Pikmin Bingo Battle is the most fun I've ever had in any Pikmin game.
I'm going to take it a step further and say Pikmin Bingo Battle is the single best introduction to Pikmin there is. I think more so than playing the... Yes, I think more so than playing the main story.
Really?
If you have an experienced friend and you get people to start playing Bingo Battle, it is engaging, it gets people hooked. And you and I should both know from experience, because we got some people hooked playing Bingo Battle ourselves.
Yeah,
we even got some people hooked at, like, conventions, at meetups.
It's a great spectator sport. It really is, because it's not like Smash Bros. Where everything's happening so fast. And, I mean, Smash Bros. Is generally considered a good spectator sport.
It is, and it really is. Yeah.
It's so, you can really pay attention to what's happening with the characters and what they're doing, and you can kind of visualize it really well, which is hard to do with other fighting games. So Smash Bros. Is often, praised for that ability to watch. Pikmin... It's even slower. You can see what they're doing, and then you can see what the other person's doing, and you can see their strategies unfolding real time. And you can even be like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. It's different than like a fighting game where it's like, oh, he messed up. It's, oh, I see what he's doing. And it's a really fun thing to watch. Especially when the game turns around.
Oh, yeah. And on top of that, Bingo Battle has big maps. And I like, they're significantly big. Yeah. Even the basic map, the number 1 map, which is kind of boring, is still big. It's still big enough that you can't see the whole map in your camera. So there's going to be downtime of moving. And that is so important for the player being given an opportunity to strategize, because time matters. Plucking Pikmin is a decision. Right? Yeah. Growing Pikmin is a decision.
Yeah.
Using your limited items is a decision. And the thing that I think makes it significantly better than any other battle mode is you are given multiple Pikmin types to use. Pikmin 4 almost does this. They give you glow Pikmin, but the problem is glow Pikmin are good at everything.
Yeah.
So they're like Bulbmin.
It's like if you just kept mashing A, you wouldn't have a problem. In Pikmin 3, if you kept mashing A, Pikmin are going to die.
Yes. Especially with how weird the purples are in that.
Yeah, that's upsetting. Listen, Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle has so many problems. It really does.
It does.
The maps are a big one. You mentioned the first map. You said it was boring. I actually disagree. I think the first map is chaotic. I think that so much happens so fast that it's really hard even for experienced players to understand what's happening fast enough sometimes.
I'm going to disagree, but, like, you're definitely... Let's make this clear. Creative Sushi and I went for, I think, 12 Bingo Battle matches back-to-back while he was half asleep. And I won one of those matches on a map that we have generally banned because it's not a fun map to play. So, and that's the maze, right? Yeah. So, so in terms of who's better at Bingo Battle, it's Creative Sushi. In terms of who's better at Dandori battles, though, I currently have beat you a little bit. And I think that's wrong, and therefore Dandori battles are worse. And I will actually talk about I have very complex relationship with Dandori battles, but I've got to talk about my biggest downside with Bingo Battle, right? Which is the reason I'm significantly better at Dandori battles. There is no way to play Bingo Battle single player.
Yeah.
There's no way to play 2-player battle single player either. But Bingo Battle, you just can't do it. You have to have friends.
It's disappointing, especially with no internet or online. Like, not having an AI is very disappointing.
I want more AI Pikmin. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, or even like they could have easily created Bingo Battle into a single player minigame where you are trying to collect these bingo items, and some of the items are like going away off your card, and you're trying to collect these items, and it's a race, you know?
Yeah.
And that would have gotten people practice and experience. Just make it a practice mode.
Stepping stone.
Like, it doesn't have to be like this amazing time killer, like in-depth gameplay edition. Just make it a practice mode so people can like play without another person. Granted, you could always have just an idle controller, but
it's true. But you're still stuck in split screen when you do that.
Yeah.
And I think it was Arlo who had never seen the Bingo Battle stages, got a second controller, and just walked around for the extra Pikmin content. It may not have been Arlo, but I distinctly remember a YouTuber doing that. What'd you say?
I'm not sure who that was, but that's great.
But I distinctly remember a Pikmin YouTuber doing it, and it was just like, yeah, these are really well-made Pikmin stages that, frankly, like, it's weird. I feel like I would have liked it better if those maps were even at least used for extra mission mode or something, just so players could get used to them in single player in some form before going into the mission mode. Or, I mean, into the Bingo Battle.
For sure. And, okay. I gotta tell you my number one, before I forget it, my number one complaint with both Pikmin 3 Deluxe Co-op and Bingo Battle is that you cannot have separate control styles for each player.
Yes.
That is the worst
I want to play pointer
decision.
control.
What?
I want to play pointer control. Or, because actually it's funny, when we played against each other, I didn't use gyro at this point. I exclusively use gyro now. I got hooked on the gyro playstyle.
Did I sell you on that?
No, Pikmin 4 sold me on it because I wanted pointer control so bad and there was no other option.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I had used gyro for just pointer control, right? And I had used just non-gyro, just controller, because it was just like a better version of base Pikmin 3 controller scheme. I didn't like gyro, and all of you had gyro, and literally I would be playing, holding my controller up like this, and I go to throw a Pikmin, and it would fly over the flower, and I would have the worst opening every time, just because I wasn't used to the control scheme I'm playing, because I would consistently miss pellet posies because of gyro. Now, I think 4's gyro and 1+2's gyro is significantly better than Pikmin 3's gyro, but Pikmin 3 Deluxe's gyro was a stepping stone to get to those games. So
absolutely. Yeah,
but
and
I'd like to
talk about the differences between the Wii U version and the Switch version as well.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, I think that the Wii U version had the best controls in the entire Pikmin series ever. Honestly,
it let you differentiate them between players, right? For Bingo Battle?
Well, there weren't. Yeah, it did. You could play. One person could be on the gamepad, and the other person could be on the
controller.
Of course, you couldn't have two people on the gamepad with the stylus controls.
No,
but
which is unfair. But
you could have the Wii U Pro controller for the gamepad controls, and one person on the gamepad, or two Wii U Pro controllers.
And if you were using two separate controllers, the gamepad was a minimap.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which, in 3 Deluxe, you pause and it blanks out your screen with the minimap, which means you're wasting time, right?
Well, it is a waste of time, but I actually think that's better. Because, in Pikmin 3 for the Wii U, since the minimap was on a different screen, you were kind of already pausing your game anyway to look down at it.
That's true.
Like, if you had it on a table in front of you, you would have to stop, look down at the map, and then look back up, which was kind of funny. But I think the new way of doing it with the Switch, where it just blanks up half the screen, I think it's way more efficient than having to do that. And it's easier to understand. You're not having to change your point of view. Same issue as like Star Fox on the Wii U that I had with that game.
We have to go, oh.
Yeah, exactly. It's just disorienting.
Wait, I literally have a gamepad here. Why am I... I'm clipping that into a short.
Great. But yeah,
I just dropped the gamepad stand.
I think that the pointer controls in the Pikmin 3, and that's just a Pikmin 3 fact in my opinion, the pointer controls are better.
Yeah, because the game was designed around it. There's no way around it. Miyamoto has said in interviews, like, that's why he wanted it on Wii, and then he waited because it was hard to see the Pikmin on Wii or whatever. And,
but honestly,
I
still to this day think they're the best controls that the series has ever seen. Like they offer the most precise, I want this to happen, it's gonna happen now controls of any game in the series. You can be throwing Pikmin behind you while you're walking forward, and they'll hit the target, no problem. And it's like, that's incredibly difficult to do, even in the games with lock-on. So, yeah, control-wise, Pikmin 3, but Pikmin 3 on the Wii U was also zoomed in farther, and I think that was a nice upgrade that they zoomed out the camera. It's hard to play the Wii U version now because of that. Go ahead.
I prefer the Wii U version to the Switch version still.
In a lot of ways, especially in Bingo Battle, where there's no difference between the two, other than the fact that the Switch version also is glitchier.
Really? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I was about to be like, really? I didn't know that. No, Mike. This is a hill I will die on. Pikmin 3, the original version, is one of the most polished games I've ever played. Pikmin 3 Deluxe has so many bugs, and my answer for you is take a blue Pikmin, throw it in a 5 pellet, see it spin around for 10 minutes.
It's literally a time killer. It's literally a time killer. And not to mention, the winged Pikmin in Pikmin 3 Deluxe were so bugged out as well with carrying when they fight. They didn't used to do that thing where they'd stop in the center and not move either way, and if it did, it happened so much more infrequently.
Where they go, huh, and then, huh. Yeah, that doesn't...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, kind of segueing into Pikmin 4 a little bit. In the Dandori mode, I actually think the one thing Dandori has over Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle, besides removing some of the bugs, besides making the boulders not overpowered and some of the other items stupid, Pikmin combat is so much better in Pikmin 4, in my opinion. It's in Pikmin 2 it was jank, in Pikmin 3 it was jank. Pikmin 4 has the best Pikmin on Pikmin interaction. They don't need to fight, it's just tug of war. It makes so much sense. It makes
and I
so
agree
much
with
sense.
that. I have one more thing I really like that I think is better in 4. You ready for this? I love the fact that they understand that plucking Pikmin is a chore.
Yeah.
I think 3 Bingo Battle, I like that you have to pluck Pikmin because it's always a risk to do so. However, having played things like Pikmin 2 Caveless, where you get to pluck a phone very early, it makes me realize, hey, and also developing my own game where it's in the same genre, but there's no plucking because it's not Pikmin. It just isn't. By not plucking Pikmin, it means that they're just idle at the base. And it's one of the reasons I think Tropical Forest is the best mission mode mission in Pikmin 3, is because you're not plucking Pikmin. You're just whistling them. They just come to you.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's that act of when you are plucking Pikmin, it's boring. The player isn't given action. They have their action taken away from them. With multiple leaders, this is fine. But you can't go.
And in every single game, they've made it faster or reduced the amount that you have to every single time, and it shows why.
And so they just took it out. They just come out of the onion in 4.
Absolutely. But yeah, no.
But I do think it takes away from strategy.
That's a nice streamline. It does come with a curse, though. And I say that, but they totally could have done this anyway. In Pikmin 4 Dandori, you don't find Pikmin around the maps in the versus mode.
No, you
anymore.
don't.
And you did that in Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle, and I really liked that element. Sometimes you would have one or two spots that you could find Pikmin in the map, and it was a point of strategy. It's like, okay, I want to make sure I go to this point of the map first to get those Pikmin, or maybe put it off and go get this item that I think might be more valuable for me right now to make sure the other person doesn't have it. So it was a really good balance of, decision making there.
I agree with you. I want to say though, they totally could have done it.
Yeah.
The only unplucked Pikmin, sprouted, planted Pikmin are the ones you have to go get.
Yeah.
And then once you get one, you can start growing your numbers with that type.
And the plucking time makes sense in that context because you're spending time to utilize a better benefit for yourself. It's kind of funny because out of all of the modes in Pikmin 4 and the game that so heavily focused on Dandori. Competitive Dandori isn't very much Dandori, in my opinion.
No.
It's just a race.
A race. Yeah. Now, that's not true. There are some things in it that they did put in that I stand by are good for Dandori.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the sneak bomb. I like it way better than the victory macaron.
The sneak bomb's great.
Yeah. The sneak bomb's great because it gives a point of contest that you can play around and kind of change your approach very quickly.
Yeah.
In addition, I really like the way bombs are in that game. I mean, anyone who's played Bingo Battle with me knows that at a certain point, I just like being that guy with the bombs. And I really like being that guy with the mine as well. It doesn't work in Bingo Battle, but in Pikmin 4, putting mines or a Trackinator or something, mind you, side note, Trackinator is just a volatile Dweevil. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a throwable volatile Dweevil. Anyway, being able to use mines in the enemy base and they drag something back and then their whole squad blows up. There is nothing funnier than that.
Wait, but you said they don't work in Bingo Battle?
They do. No, mines work very well in Bingo Battle.
Oh,
I'm just saying, like, because of the two-step process of throwing a Pikmin and then they have to throw the object, 4 is just more precise because you're directly throwing where it goes.
That's true.
It's not that they don't work. It's just you can be more of a jerk with them because you have precise aiming.
That was a really weird thing to get used to when I went into Pikmin 4, and I kept accidentally throwing my bombs because I was always expecting a second step.
It's the only reason I think I beat you as much as I did when we played 4. Is because my dumb strategy that's never been good in Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle, but it's always fun, actually worked in 4 because it had direct control. And I don't like that it did.
You can get some good use out of bombs in Pikmin 3, though.
Oh, yes, you can. You can.
Yeah.
But they're not win buttons as much as they are in 4.
They're not.
You can roll the cherry rolls. I don't like 4s. I think they're objectively like less destructive than
and that's one of the things
3s
that I found disappointing is like I understand simplification of some things, but not having to carry cherries back anymore and just touching them, it's a little bit too dubbed down. Like, you can't fight that person over that item. It's just again just a race to see who can touch it first. There's no longer any liability once you've picked it up that you have to continue going for it.
Like, if I were designing the mode, I would have made cherries or the cherry equivalent cost 5 to take it. Because then you have a fight over it. And habit 5 to even, 10 can be on it on a party, which means 20 Pikmin could be locked up in one of them. And it's for a chance, too. That's where your random element comes in and isn't bad. Because ultimately, Bingo Battle has random elements, too. And that's what keeps it from being, like, an esport, right? Like, Bingo Battle could never be an esport because it's too random.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Dandori battles are in some ways less random and still could never be in an esport because they're less random. Actually, but that's something I like less about Dandori battles. It doesn't have random map variations. There's so few maps, and there's not different layouts of it in the same way as, like, that's actually, I think, like, you go into a cave map, you're like, okay, am I getting purples this time? Am I not? What types am I getting? Am I getting winged?
I mean, I know all the variations because I've played hours and hours of Bingo Battle. But for a new player to learn the maps, that eliminates the competitive edge very quickly, or like the advantage of a veteran player very quickly.
Anyway, advantage.
Oh, yeah, right. I thought you were pointing at you because you were talking about how you beat me in Dandori.
Oh, that's true. I mean, I stand by that I am a worse player in Bingo Battle than you. That is objective fact. I've seen like 2 people that are legitimately roughly the same strength as you consistently, right? And I'm not one of them. Let's put it that way.
I do wish that, like, my biggest issue with Bingo Battle, honestly, the biggest issue is the boulders.
Yeah.
I think that it turns so many people off when they get crushed by a boulder and are just done. And it would have been really easy if you wanted to make the boulders overpowered. That's fine. Just have the Pikmin respawn at the onion when they die via boulder.
I think that's perfect.
Just like they do with combat, and that would have fixed it.
You want my hot take for how if I were to design a multiplayer mode, it would take a lot from 3, it'd take a lot from 4, right? I would have it Pikmin who are killed don't need to be plucked. They just come out of the onion again. Pikmin who are just born need to be plucked. So that way you have that early game resource gathering, or you can go crazy and try grabbing something early.
The problem with that is it would become incredibly difficult to steal something from someone when they've got it close to their base.
True, except if you're doing tug of war.
Yeah, but even in Pikmin 4, because the Pikmin don't fight each other, there's no more Pikmin respawning after death.
I guess, that's fair. Yeah, never mind. Ignore what I said. I'm just wrong, guys. Vantage, the game developer, said something theoretical, and it happened to be bad. But you know what? This is what playtesting is for. And ultimately, this is a great segue into what I think Bingo Battle does better than any other Pikmin mode in any game ever. Bingo Battle is the single Pikmin experience where I find every Pikmin type, and yes, I'm including purples and whites, are balanced.
Yeah.
It is the only Pikmin mode where I find that to be the case. It actually feels like Pikmin 3, and we've talked about this before, Pikmin 3's entire game feels balanced around Bingo Battle. Rock Pikmin are overpowered as heck in the main campaign, but in Bingo Battle, their drawbacks with grabbing onto things are huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yellow Pikmin kind of feel like they lack a niche in some ways in the main campaign. They're so useful in Bingo Battle for electricity, for the fact that, like, the lightning hazard doesn't work on them, right? The ability.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't work on them. And there's so many treasures in different stages that require that. Whenever yellow Pikmin are present, they require that extra height. And it's like, if you only have one type of Pikmin, you got to grow more yellows to get that.
The digging speed matters.
Oh, yeah.
The digging speed matters. Red Pikmin, the extra combat, matters. Plus fire. Like, they're solid. White Pikmin are faster. Also, there's a poison gimmick. Winged Pikmin, say no more about Winged Pikmin. I even think blue Pikmin are balanced. They're underutilized in the main campaign, but every map they show up in is designed around them being there because it's planned out. It's actually like they're intended to be there, and because of the restrictions, blues are fun. Like,
and then you have that one map that has water with no blues. It gives you winged, though.
Yeah, but even still, it makes you want them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the cave one, right?
Yeah,
With the lily pads,
circular
right?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that brings me to my my most disappointing thing about Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle, besides the boulders, is some of the maps. There are 4 maps that I am not fond of, some varying worse than others.
I remember being 3 that you disliked actively. We banned 2.
Yes.
We banned the 2 jigsaw maps because one is a castle on 2 layers, so it's asymmetric, which is fine. Like, theoretically, that one's playable, but
being on the top
unbalanced.
of that mountain is a disadvantage.
A detriment because you can't just drop down to go back. I agree. And that's why we banned it. We almost didn't ban it for the tournament, but we did ban it because it is. The other Jigsaw Maze map is awful. I do not recommend that on my enemies.
It's not that it's not balanced. It's just not fun.
It's just not fun. And like, ultimately, that could be playable in the tournament, but it's just a lot of. The thing is,
it's not fun to watch.
It's interesting because Pikmin 1, right? Pikmin 1. Something people don't do as much, but is genuinely a thing you can do, is throwing yellows up onto ledges is a major thing, especially with pointer controls. Throwing yellows to the middle of a wall, walking to the other side and whistling them across is legitimately a design element that's in the game that they don't really use that much. Yeah. But like it's a thing. It's a thing you can do. It's a thing that I think was intended for intermediate players to get better at. But since the yellow height is de-emphasized in Pikmin 1, it's not really a thing. Plus GameCube controls, whatever. In Pikmin 3, in Dandori battles, that jigsaw map feels like the perfect opportunity to throw over to the other side But you can't then walk over to the other side because it's such a maze that whole gimmick of like being able to throw over walls because they're short doesn't work. It just doesn't help you. You just get Pikmin stuck. It's not fun. it's like actually... Pikmin 2 caves, they have ramps that you can walk back up, but they don't because these are square blocks, and it's... I don't like that map. Say your thing. Sorry,
I will actually say, with Pikmin 3, having them throw captains in the story mode, and the mission mode to a lesser degree, the throwing captains, and this kind of ties in where you said Pikmin balancing is best in Bingo Battle. I think that the ability to throw captains is also most utilized in Bingo Battle. And I know a lot of people don't play two captain mode in Bingo Battle, but there are so many things you can get away with when you have two captains. Being able to, in the one map with the river, I should really know these names because I play them so much, but the one map with the valley, you can throw a captain over that. And you can get to those spots faster. You can have a captain plucking Pikmin when the other one is doing stuff. And it's so much more
strategic avenues.
Sorry?
Yeah. It opens up strategic avenues.
It does. And
I'll tell you what.
You want to utilize it, despite where in story mode, you use it when you have to. And there's very rarely ever an instance where you feel like, I want to throw my captain here.
You want my hot take about that?
Yeah.
I agree. And so did the developers of Pikmin 4 when they made the dogs a mandatory thing in their mode. And they're asymmetric, don't get me wrong. The dogs jump, and that jump replaces captain throw. They're basically a big Pikmin, a bigman, if you will. But they're also a second leader. So the strategy in 4 is whether or not you're using them as a Pikmin or not. Like, are you using them as a leader or are you using them as a Pikmin? In Pikmin 3, though, leaders have just the distinct role of being a leader. And I think for specifically Bingo Battle, that works better. Especially because it still plays very well with one leader.
Yeah.
But it opens up strategic avenues with two. I don't like victory macaroons, though.
Yeah, they're a bit of a tricky subject. I like them aesthetically. Macaroons are cute.
Oh, yeah. They're cute. Don't get me wrong.
I'd like to see them
I'd
more,
love to see... Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. It works okay when you have the two captains. That way you can kind of have one guarding. It definitely wouldn't work in Dandori, because we see how often people grab those sneak bombs. The game would just be over in no time. But in Pikmin 3, it's kind of give or take. I know they put it in. I'm glad they made it optional. I do wish in Pikmin 3 that they made other things optional, like toggling certain items.
Yeah.
If I could turn off the damn president marbles, like, until they're required... That would be nice. I don't like how it's on the timer, or be able to change that timer. Being able to turn off the boulders. Maybe even choosing the Pikmin types you start with in certain levels would be nice for Pikmin 3 as a bonus thing.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
That's ultimately where it fails as an RTS. It could be an amazing real-time strategy game, but one of the pillars of real-time strategy is customization. Whether that's making custom maps, or at least having control over your game. Control over, like, there's all sorts of, like, StarCraft 2, one of the big things about it is there's so many, like, add-ons and mods you can do just to change resource values, or to play custom games, or to whatever. And you lose that in Bingo Battle, because ultimately... Nintendo likes to be hands-off with controls. A game like Smash, the competitive scene bans items.
Yeah.
They do, and they ban stages, because that's a functionality the devs allowed, is that you can turn that stuff off.
Yeah.
Pikmin doesn't have that, and Pikmin could, like, I genuinely believe a version of Pikmin 3E Bingo Battle could be an esport. Like, genuinely,
absolutely.
It's so close,
it's just
but it's not able to be.
Didn't really bring Pikmin 4 in that direction. And that's my biggest disappointment with Pikmin 4, is that they dubbed down the competitive scene, and I really hope that with DLC we get something else.
Can I give my hot take? I have some notes. I'm just going to read these notes off.
Go for it.
Problem with Pikmin 4. Pikmin 3 already felt like it had too little Bingo Battle maps in some ways. Just because once you've played them enough, like, you know them, and there are rotations of them. So there's actually a sizable amount of layouts, but, like, for a healthy competitive game, it's too little. At the same time, Pikmin 3 isn't a healthy competitive game, just because it's never had that big competitive scene, so it's fine. It is a fine amount of maps. Pikmin 4, on the other hand, has like 6, and you play them all in the main campaign, and they purport that you can play them with different Pikmin types, but one of them really needs reds to be any fun.
Yeah.
And so there's basically less, and I don't know if 6 is the actual number, but I don't care, because it's, and granted, like, being able to play them with different types is cool and all, but you really kind of want some types for some maps, and you and I are going to disagree on this a bit. I really wish they let you pick types independently and control schemes independently, because I think genuinely there's something fun to the asymmetry of having two different types at ends with each other. Pikmin 3 balances both players have access to the same Pikmin types at once, right? Like, no matter what, if it's rocks and yellows, right, you're playing that map against another player with access to rocks and yellows. 4 had the opportunity to make it so players could have asymmetrically picked Pikmin, or at least each player picks a Pikmin type, and player 1 gets to be the primary, player 2 gets to be secondary. I know that's, like, those are two different ways to handle it, but I feel ultimately just having one type and then maybe sometimes glows is lame. It's just kind of lame. And especially Pikmin 3.
It works fine in the story mode versions of those Dandori modes. But
yes,
for
absolutely.
the versus modes, you need
it dumbs
more.
it down.
Yeah.
Especially, and the thing is, I really like the map that uses red Pikmin. With red Pikmin. I think it's one of my favorites. The one where you have to burn things down using the fire starters. Which, mind you, I want to point out, the fire starter is the only item like a bomb rock that actually functions like a bomb rock originally did.
Yeah.
They are red Pikmin bomb rocks.
And
That's what
I
they
actually
are.
kind of don't like it.
I like the fire starter a lot, but every time I'm using the fire starter, it makes me wish I had other types using the other items.
Yeah,
like
it just
the
feels a little
ice
janky
Pikmin,
compared to the rest of the game. A little
like
bit.
ice Pikmin being the only type that could use ice bomb rocks would have kind of been sweet.
That would have made sense, yeah.
Or yellow Pikmin and all the others having regular bomb rocks because, ROM rocks. And then you can just throw Pikmin carrots yourself because that's fine. That's whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I digress because I have a lot of critique about the item system before. But ultimately, I really wish that there was a way to play an unbalanced, in terms of like asymmetric balance of Pikmin types in 4.
I don't necessarily think that I disagree with you there. I think that the asymmetry would be cool, especially if, you know, both players have the option to choose different Pikmin types. Like, yeah, maybe there would be a meta, but if you can
purples would be meta.
Yeah, you can still change what you are, so at the end of the day, it's your choice. So,
and actually,
or ingrain it into the actual gameplay. Add things
game
like
design
candy
or into
pop
the maps.
buds into the map.
And that's where I have my take, and this is where ultimately I'm going back to the crackpot Vantage is going to try to design a Pikmin game thing again, and we know how that went last time I tried something. Blue Pikmin. Everyone says blue Pikmin are useless or something, and that, and the same thing with wing Pikmin. Like, one or the other people think is bad in 4 or in 3, and it's not wing Pikmin in 3. Right. Purple Pikmin would be meta given the current maps we have. Except, would they be? Because I'm thinking about the one with the red Pikmin fire starters. Red Pikmin would be the meta on that map. It wouldn't be purples, because they'd be easy to break things down. Winged Pikmin,
and you gotta remember,
Pikmin,
purples are
if you
slow.
have I was gonna say, if you have water passageways that make it significantly faster to have blues, that are optional.
Well, it
that
doesn't
OG
matter.
can carry through,
keep
right?
Keep in mind, the whole point of Dandori is getting things to the onion as fast as possible. It's
fast as possible.
So having purples isn't necessarily going to be ideal every single time.
But it means you win every tug of war against them. You win
every tug of war, yeah. And honestly, that might be balanced.
Yeah.
Like, just as is.
And white Pikmin are faster, and you can use them to quickly kill enemies, but if you use them to kill enemies, they die. Like, you sacrifice them.
Yeah, like...
Ice Pikmin freeze your carcasses. So you have to waste extra time unfreeze... Hold on, rock Pikmin don't latch on to Is it balanced? Could this have been a thing? And we just didn't get it? And the thing is, getting glow Pikmin is reinforcements, actually makes way more sense if you're playing asymmetrically because it fills up your weaknesses.
You know what? I think that the gameplay is too fast-paced because of not plucking, because of items not being carried back to the onions, that I think that many of these like nuances that you're describing wouldn't have even been noticeable or really affect gameplay that much. And that's one of my biggest qualms with it. And I think maybe when they decided they wanted to do things like remove plucking, that's when they decided to go with the route of just having one Pikmin and choosing it. It is disappointing, but the streamlining I think it was good and bad in a lot of ways. Yeah. And then there's just other qualms. Pikmin 4 also has the issue with the control scheme.
Oh yeah, with the lock-on, the auto lock-on that should be disableable but isn't.
And both players still have to use the same control options. And
like even if they fix auto lock-on, I'm still gonna want to use it probably, and the person I'm playing against probably isn't. Yeah. And that's gonna be
And then there's other questions like, why limit player 2 to only Olimar and Louie? Yeah. Why not let them use a custom character? Or
let them play as the
castaways.
Some of the other rescued castaways.
It's like I think they did it because they didn't want people. They didn't want the characters to blend in with each other too much. But in the very least, use the rest of the rescue team. Use Shepard. Put Colin in there. You know, they're not going to get confused.
Bernard. Let them... Could you imagine if Team 2, right, was just Olimar, Louie, and then, like, Dalmo and Schnoz? That's it. There you have more options now. And I would play Dalmo every time. I will have you know, I love Dalmo and Bernard. They're the best part of Pikmin. You could have had them be the co-pilots.
Hell, bring the president in for this mode.
I mean, I would love Sacho, but we all know I would just play Sacho at all times.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
But ultimately, it's weird because I think they tried to resolve so many problems that existed with Pikmin 3 Bingo Battle by simplifying every time. Oh, balance issues? Simplify. Oh, complexity issues? Simplify. And that's the ultimate part of Pikmin 4 Dandori battles that I don't like. It is just simpler. And the reason I beat you, Nathan, is because I am faster, because I am a couple years younger. I have my youth on my side, Nathan.
There's also just... You're not that much younger than me. But
I know.
There's also... there's also just the fact of I've been playing Bingo Battle way longer than you have. I've put way more hours into it.
Because I haven't been able to, because there hasn't been a single player. Dandori Battle, I boot up all the time because there's a single player. It's the single greatest part of it.
In many tournaments before you even played it for, like, a good, like,
real
competitive entry at all. So there's that, you know, whereas Dandori, we got into it at the same time, and I think you maybe got more practice into it than I did, because
you're mad that it's not Bingo Battle every time you play it, and I'm just happy I can play a versus mode.
yeah. But I'll get better. Dandori is good. I've played Pikmin 3 and Bingo Battle multiple times since Pikmin 4 has come out, and just been like, this is better.
It is. And actually, that's the crazy thing. I said before Pikmin 4 came out that Pikmin 3 was my favorite game of the series. And people fought me. All the Pikmin 2 fans fought me over and over again. Pikmin 4 came out, and I expected it to jump to Pikmin 4, and it became more firmly Pikmin 3, and also the Pikmin 1 port moved Pikmin 1 up from my least favorite to my second favorite, going on to maybe be my favorite. It's that I really like Pikmin 1.
I have always said that Pikmin 1 is my favorite game.
I know, and
I mean, Pikmin 4 coming out obviously puts that to question. I don't know where I'm standing right now, but the more I play Pikmin 3, the more I'm like, I think this gameplay might be a little bit better in some aspects overall.
It is, but the thing I will say is, 4 has an impressive amount of content. Pikmin 3 does not.
Yeah.
Which is weird,
that's
because the versus modes are different. Pikmin 4 has a subpar amount of content, and Pikmin 3 has a great amount of content.
And they're different games. Like it's like 2D and 3D Mario, right? When I play 3D Mario, I'm there for the discovery, the exploration. But if I'm going to replay a Mario game over and over again, I'm going to have more fun doing that in 2D Mario, because those games are all about your skill and getting over the challenges and beating it. Whereas Adventure Mario is just finding the stuff. And once you've already found it once, it's not quite as fun to find it the second time.
And I think this is why Pikmin 2 is a foundational game for me. Aesthetically, Pikmin 2 is maybe my favorite in the series. It's fighting it out with Pikmin 3. But Pikmin 3, we all know, is just Pikmin 2, but, like, aesthetically, Pikmin 2, but, like, more HD, slimier, and maybe, like, a little less grungy. Yeah. It's the Apple version of, I don't know where I'm going with that. Davogado said something like it's made by Apple in California compared to Pikmin 2 being made in the 90s or something. Yeah. But Pikmin 1 is really weird and alien and plasticky. And 4 goes back to that aesthetic. It does. It really tries to do that aesthetic. So Pikmin 2, like, aesthetically, I like better than 4. But cave-wise, I like 4 better. And I feel like 2 and 4, for me, are kind of battling out neck and neck for last place, because I've played them once, and I kind of got that experience. But 4 has Olimar's comeback.
Olimar's comeback is good, but
not comeback.
We're derailing
Olimar's
from
assignment.
the topic
Olimar's
just
shipwreck
a little
tale.
bit.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, we're going to have to edit this. Yeah.
I think it's funny how during this call you've said both 1, 2, and 3 are your favorite games. So.
No. Okay, no. I'm going to say it. 3 is my favorite game in the series.
All right.
1 has my favorite gameplay in the series now.
Okay.
There's things I like significant, and 2 has my favorite writing.
Mm-hmm. Which
I think
funny.
means 4 might have to be my least favorite, and I don't like that I have to say that.
It is funny though that that we kind of started this conversation this way, and we're kind of ending it this way. That I think Pikmin 1. Despite not having a competitive multiplayer, is the best competitive multiplayer in the series.
It is! and the thing is, it almost always has been, because the game is self-competitive. It's designed, the whole game is designed about bettering your time and doing better, and that iterative process. There's a reason there's still a speedrunning community for Pikmin 1. Because it's that multiplayer scene of... And Pikmin 3, for its credit, did do this in mission mode. Pikmin 3 mission mode was amazing. However, the world record board for mission mode is hacked. Therefore, it's not a real record. The current world record on that board is 1 second.
Yeah, it's hilarious. So, it is hacked.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah.
It's so easy, like, if you download like Pikmin, like Tong's mod, Pikmin additional, I forget the name of it, side stories,
extra side of stories, yeah,
extra side of stories. You can get high scores in those, and they'll upload to the leaderboards, and it's like it's different on what the mechanics are for each level, but it overwrites as if it is that level. So yeah, it's easy to kind of BS that leaderboards, but
1 and 3, I hate to say it, 1 and 3 have more in common than I think 2 and 4 do in some ways, in terms of their actual
absolutely.
Focus
I mean,
on,
Nintendo said that themselves as well. Like, Pikmin 3 is the new Pikmin 1, and Pikmin 4 is the new Pikmin 2. And Pikmin 1 has always been better than Pikmin 2 in my opinion, and that's why I think that maybe Pikmin 3 and Pikmin 1 are better than Pikmin 4. So
it's interesting because all the Pikmin games exist on Switch now, so I can watch my own play habits with it in terms of like on how many hours have I played and stuff like that. And I found Pikmin 3 has been my second most played game for a while. It recently was beat, at least the deluxe port on the Switch I primarily use for Vantage stuff, so for footage. It recently was beat by Persona 5, I will not lie, but it's about to take that spot back anyway. But Pikmin 1 keeps rising. Pikmin 2 had a lot of content, and I played through it, and then it kind of stopped. I've been doing multiple playthroughs because it has a bunch of different branches of how to play it, but there's no incentive to play that game over and over and over again, like there was with Pikmin 1. I'm convinced by the end of my Switch's lifespan, Pikmin 1 will easily be my most played game on Switch. It's just going to take a while. because it's that iterative process of wanting to play that game over and over again. And the thing is, it's not like Pikmin 1's a new game to me. That game came out before I was born, which is weird for you to hear, but
it is a little bit. I mean, I was only 4. Maybe I am a little bit older than you. Oh, man. But anyway, I think we should wrap up with essentially a tier list, because I think we pretty much agree.
We made a tier list,
mention for Pikmin 1, but at the top, Bingo Battle. Second place, we can put Dandori over 2-player battle, right?
I would agree. Are we putting we're just ranking the versus modes?
Yeah.
Okay, so Bingo Battle's easily number 1. Although I would say if we're counting Pikmin 1 Lockout, it's kind of the most fun. Honorary mention. Yeah.
1.
Then it's 4, then it's 2, right?
Yeah. And
in terms of co-op,
I agree with you perfectly.
4 is lowest, easily. 3, I'd say, is above it. My question is, do you put Modded 2 above or below? I'm going to put it below because it's less accessible.
Well,
with the whole point of co-op being.
Don't forget about that.
But that's not... It's not great. Like, it exists, but, like...
I don't think that story mode competitive or cooperative Pikmin 2 is really balanced or that fun, to be honest. Because the game is very linear.
And the thing is, also, the other thing we didn't talk about that I'd like to mention with co-op is everyone's like, why can't you co-op in Pikmin 4, but you can in Pikmin 3? And I have one word for you. Caves.
Yeah.
The minute a player hits the cave, everything on the surface stops. So if you're on the other side of the map, you get pulled into it.
All the time, like the Pikmin teleport, so I don't think it would be that hard for them to just make the second player
Imagine
teleport.
You're a second player trying to do your thing.
It would suck.
You get obnoxiously drug in by your main... It wouldn't be fun.
It would suck, but also, it's just the way the game is developed, because, like, Pikmin 3, you can multitask very easily in that story mode. You can have one player going and doing something else, and another player going... And you can do that to an extent in Pikmin 4. Definitely a lot more than you can in Pikmin 2.
Oh,
but it's not... Actually, I take that back. Pikmin 4 is pretty open. There's a lot of options.
I was gonna say
it's a lot less linear than Pikmin 2. I take that back.
Yeah, it's the most non-linear Pikmin game aside from I'm gonna say it, Pikmin 1. I think Pikmin 1 is less linear than Pikmin 4, and the reason I say this, right, is that Pikmin 1's linearity depends on your skill level. I don't know if that's necessarily true. No, yes.
I'll give you one reason why Pikmin 1 is not less linear than Pikmin 4.
Uh-huh.
Because to get to the end of Pikmin 1, you have to do everything first.
That's fair.
Whereas
I'll tell you why
Pikmin 4,
Pikmin
that's
4...
not true. Go ahead.
Pikmin 4 has caves. So you have to stop what you're doing on the overworld and go into the caves.
Yeah, but you can do any of those caves in any order that you like.
That's true. I think this is a topic for another debate.
Yeah, you're right.
You, the viewer. Hey. Hi. Hey, I'm talking to you. You should let us know your thoughts on that in the comments below. And also, what you're thinking about the multiplayer modes. What would your multiplayer mode be? Pitch me your multiplayer mode. Your idea is probably better than mine. There's a reason the Distant Planet is not having competitive multiplayer at the moment because I don't want to have to worry about setting up that kind of server jank. But, anyway.
Very fair.
Thank you, Sushi,
I think that
for
was a
having me on the
pretty
channel.
dang good outro. So thanks for everybody who tuned in. Hope that we entertained your brain cells for an hour or so.
And now I leave you with this question. Dandori issue? Nope, that's it. It left my brain.
The question is, what was the question going to be?
And the game is that you lost it, Nathan.
Dang it! You can't be making me do this here.